Welcome to the OFX podcast. I'm Dave Claxton, and along with me, not as always, is Deka world champion Heather White, double Deka world champion Tara Jackson. She was going to be the controversy-causing crusher of courses, Bethany McChesney, but today she will be Deka world champion Bethany McChesney and open wave strong champion Dylan Scott. How about this? Second place co-ed relay champion Dylan Scott.
Something to that effect. You know, I'm definitely coming in with the least accolades of this group, but man, am I proud to be on here with these people.
I'm gonna make you feel better. Seventh place relay participant Dave Claxton.
Oh,
also ran. Guys, obviously awesome. Everybody was one hell of a weekend. And before we get into the weekend, I want to go through, we always seem to have this like elephant in the room to deal with, and we'll deal with it really quick because a lot of it's been cleared up. But we'll go back to the issue of injury substitutions in the relay. Now, it came up online. It came up a little bit before. Some people had some things that were maybe not positive to say about it. And if you were online saying something like you're a jerk, like that, you know, being a douche, well, you're a douche and I don't care about you. But if you actually had a legitimate wanted to talk or discuss saying the merits, should it be allowed? Should it not be allowed? Was there a rule broken? Was there not? Then that is perfectly cool conversation. I'm totally down with that. And I guess, Beth, why don't you just explain how we kind of came into this situation?
So I had qualified for the Deka relays with my friend Lanny, and Lanny has since suffered a serious injury with her foot, multiple stress fractures and a torn plantar. So it was not even in the question that she was running. Her injury was too much to just swap roles or anything. So a couple of weeks ago, when Lanny and I determined that she wouldn't be running, I had asked Heather to take her place. Heather was already going. She had qualified in 2 events. She's on our team OFX, so it made the most sense. And then my role would just swap on the team and I would be the runner and Heather would do more of the stations. We didn't feel like there was any issue with that. We talked to Yancey. He said, yep, that's cool. No problem. And then after our race, after the podiums were posted and maybe during the live feed, there was a couple people that felt very strongly that what I did was unsportsmanlike and that I was maybe not breaking rules because rules didn't exist yet around this, but that what I did was unfair and that it shouldn't have been allowed to bring Heather onto my team.
So that's the basis of it. And Dylan participated in some of this online conversation, as Dylan is a very chivalrous gentleman running to everybody's defense, which is always nice. But before we get a little too much in that, I want to say that there was a couple of people, like I said, that commented online, and they were commenting on behalf of other people on another team. We have talked with all those people. We've talked with the other team. We've talked with the coach of the other team, who was one of the people communicating, and then the other guy, who I'm not really sure how he fits into the situation, but we talked to him too. The other team reached out to us and they were super polite. They said, this really has nothing to do with us. We're not involved in this discussion. We don't really feel that way. They felt it was an honor to compete against Heather and Bethany, and they were nothing but classy and awesome people. And so there's no issue between the athletes. Their coach as well, I had a discussion with her and she as well handled it very well. And we disagree on whether it should be permitted or not, but that, like I said, that's cool. That's okay. Got no issue with that. We can talk about that all day. So she was good too. And then just before we came on, we received a message from the other guy, which Dylan had discussions with. And it was from possibly what I thought was not appropriate suggestion of, what was the exact word?
Well, unsportsmanlike was one that came up. Yeah.
Unsportsmanlike, kind of away from that. Unfair. And more kind of explained himself to saying just along like with the coach that he doesn't really like that as a rule. And if it is a rule, he just wants it to be clarified in the Deka rules. So we're with that. So first off, Dylan, How was your interaction?
I mean, like if you just so the problem is nobody will see the direct messages between he and I afterwards. But if you look in the comments, I mean, it looks like we were just swinging at each other, and that we were pretty mad. And I the thing that I did, take umbrage with the most was the unsportsmanlike, sort of directed at both Heather and Bethany, knowing both of them, knowing that like, all right, they didn't break any rules, like there was no written rule there. And I think that it is a bit of a mistake not to have clarifications on the process of, all right, what does happen if one of the athletes gets hurt? It is very often that you see alternates are allowed in relay races and stuff like that. That just needs to be clarified. And I think going forward to 2023, that's going to happen. And the same way that he reached out to you guys, he also reached out to me. We had a conversation. And by the end of it, we were like trading off, hey, this is how we need to train for like high rocks. Like he's talking about going and training for this. I'm like, I would do this and that. And he's like, it became a fine interaction afterwards where he was like, I don't want to be on bad terms with people, like we're just trying to make the sport better. And I was like, listen, with a new sport, you are always going to have lack of clarity on things. There are going to be mistakes that are going to get made. There are going to be people that are going to get upset. What we have to do is we have to make sure that we are taking everybody and seeing things not as malice, but seeing them as, all right, they're just operating within the parameters that are there. And whether or not you like that is a different conversation. These are all good people. Nobody who stepped to the line was angry at anybody else, I don't think. And I think there were just other folks that came in and were like, hey, we don't agree with that. And that's cool, but let's just be cordial about it. And I think at the end of the day, the people you spoke with, the people I ended up speaking with, it turned out that way. So we're fine. So I don't want folks who only see that comment thread to be like, oh, this person's a dick, or I was being a dick. Because at the end of the day, we talk to each other. We're cool. Like,
Yeah,
it's not going to be a problem.
I think that something else that maybe people need to think about a little bit more is if his goal was, let's make this sport better by maybe clarifying this rule, this part was kind of confusing maybe, then I think his initial approach was completely misguided then.
It wasn't good.
Yeah, his comments were extremely negative and they did feel very directed at myself. And there were things that were said about me as that attacked my character and integrity that, again, later he comes around and says it's not about her, it's about so maybe you need to think a little bit more about what you're putting on public platforms if your goal is to help the sport and stop tearing down the athletes who haven't done anything wrong. So I think it's more, let's think a little bit about our approach if you're to help the sport instead of his approach, which I don't think was handled the correct way. I know things have turned around and I'm glad, but yeah, I think maybe people need to think a little bit more about their approach to handling these situations.
So did he issue with y'all's team? Because there was lots of substitutions in the relays.
And that was what I pointed out. Like
Mara also co-ed and they substitution. So I don't know if they were just directed it. I didn't see the comments, so I'm like, this is news to me. I was like,
I know you can't go back and see.
I was like, what
you can't
happened?
go back and see the live comments. So
honestly, it was not on the live comments. It was just that one Instagram post that I had seen and other stuff. But to jump to the side for a sec, actually, to you, Heather, when you hear about this stuff, because I know how hard you worked and how important this was to both of you. I mean, how does that hit?
Yeah, it definitely hurts because we definitely went out there and pushed our hardest and earned the first place position. But to know that it was none of the other athletes, they were all grateful to be competing against us and had no problem with it, then I don't take any offense to it. I would just like to say that there is a rule that one teammate must have qualified, because there was something said that, well, then if one teammate was replaced and then the other one got hurt, then that teammate could be replaced and it could be a whole new team. So I would like to clear that up, that there is a rule that at least one team member must be qualified.
And I kind of put it out there, and sorry, go ahead, Heather.
Isn't that correct?
See, this is the problem, is that, and this is where some people have actual proper issue, is that there was no written rules of this. When the teams that all needed replacements, they questioned it to Yancey and said, is this acceptable? He said yes, but it's not been written in the rules yet. And again, that's where it comes down to, as the other gentleman and Dylan said, it's a new sport. Things are getting worked out. It'll happen. I guarantee you it's going to be fixed up in the rule book next year. So that's all good to have. So Dylan, are you going to use him as a replacement if you need one?
Am I going to use him as a replacement if I
Yeah,
need
like
one?
as an injury substitute if you need one. I mean, I just thought it would be appropriate.
Or is he replacing me or is he replacing somebody else?
You
Well,
would
I
have
mean,
to,
technically,
yeah.
well, there's going to be a problem. And the problem is he's also going to have to change gender to be able to do this because I have strictly raised co-ed. I mean, the thing is, I agree with Bethany. The approach was poor. The approach wasn't one that was going to do anything to start a constructive conversation. And I'm glad that we finally got to a place that that's where it became. I like to see end results much more than, face value right off the start. All right. If we can get to a positive end result, I can be okay with that. Now, of course, my character wasn't the one that was attacked in this case, but even if somebody was like, Dylan, you're a cheating scumbag, or like all the bad things Dave said about me on that live stream, I can just take that one on the chin and we'll be good to go. But yeah, if we could come in with a little bit more like, all right, we're going to believe that people are generally good and they're not trying to cheat and they're not trying to steal anything from anybody. And then say, hey, but there should have been a rule in place, that would have led to much less bickering and a much quicker agreement across the board with everybody.
Absolutely. So then it comes down to that. All aside, it comes down to the question, and I'll start with you, Tara. Should it be permitted, or should it be a case of you earned your position as a team, you race as a team, or you don't race, or should an injury substitution be allowed in your mind?
I think a substitution should be allowed. I mean, there's multiple reasons why people wouldn't compete, like they're injured or they just can't attend. And I don't think that it should be like where the whole team couldn't compete. Like Dylan said, if you do a relay, there's often like time substitutions for like a 4x4 or a track event that maybe someone's injured, or it's not like their whole team is out because one person is out.
Should there be a requirement for who you can use for an alternate, i.e., let's take Heather for the example here because she subbed in. Should it be she'd already competed in the Deka event this year, or she's already kind of qualified for an elite wave? Should it be something like that, or should it just be whoever you want?
I feel like it should be whoever you want, because I feel like I don't know, it's weird to like limit like who you can compete with. Like if they've only competed in a relay but they haven't qualified, but they have competed in a relay so they can do the relay. I think that it should be up to the discretion of the team. And like Heather said, that rule sounds good to me. As long as there's one person who initially qualified in the event, then their team is still like in play.
All right, and I'm going to put.
They do it.
Go
How do
ahead.
they do it in like a 4x4 track and field relay? I didn't run track growing up. Do they allow substitutions in a relay in that sense?
Yes,
Yeah.
but let's say we're talking about this on a world championship stage. From what I believe, you can have a team of 6 for a 4x4. You have 2 alternates. So I think that what you should actually have to do is you should have to have declared alternates. I think you should have to have 2 declared alternates, 2 people that agree that they would fill in the case that one of the other people cannot be there. And so a team of 2 could be a team of 4. And you don't have to have declared alternates with regards to like, you could just say, hey, these 2 people, and then you could run the risk of if one of us gets hurt, so nobody can fill in. But I'm all for them saying like in the sign up process, all right, these 4 people could potentially be on this relay team. And having the same rule that Heather had of one person has to have at least qualified. You couldn't run 2 folks and then swap them out and have the other 2 come in, but one of them could fill one of the roles if somebody's hurt.
So then before I register, like you'd have to have, at what point would I have had to declare an alternate? Because it was never in my plan that my partner was going to get injured. So before anybody signs up for any team event, they have to now make sure that they've listed their alternates?
I mean, I feel like it's hard in sports so small. I mean, you
Right.
think you're gonna have like alternates that are alternates for like multiple teams. Like I know I was asked to be part of 3 different relay teams. Like the sport is so small, and you're talking about an elite qualification of 12. Like there's only going to be so many people that are at that level that are going to be able to compete anyway. So I feel like you declare alternates, like somebody could be like, I could be like an alternate for 10 different teams. So
Right.
I just feel like there's no like necessary reason. Like I feel like they declare alternates because usually it's by like school or by
Mhm.
country, or there's like some like governing body instead of like more of an individualized sport.
Right. And if the goal is to grow this sport, like when I qualified, I brought in someone who wasn't part of this hybrid racing world, but I wanted to kind of show her what it was all about and how much fun it is. She's from the track world. So we did it together. We're friends, and she happens to be she ran at the Olympics in 2016. So she's a phenomenal runner. But so I could see if I qualified with Heather, and then Heather gets injured and I bring in an Olympic level 10,000 meter runner, people could be a little bit more upset. But the
Stephanie,
interesting
what are you
thing
trying to say?
I know that was hurtful.
I mean,
but you know what I mean? It's not like I flew someone in who had nothing to do with this sport and who is one of the best in the world at their discipline. But the interesting thing is Heather and I ran faster. So I think it's cool.
I was about
also
to say, I
sometimes
don't think it would have helped because your
It didn't.
strength was running. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but you and Heather on an assault bike, you're gonna get wrecked.
Oh, absolutely. But what I think it's cool then, if people want to bring in someone who they think is a ringer, that person is still 50% of their team. So, I mean, it's
Mhm.
interesting because me with an Olympic level runner, Heather and I still ran faster. So if you want to bring in like a high level CrossFitter, it's going to bring more attention to our sport anyways. It's a new sport. So let's let people bring in whoever and help to grow the sport. I brought in someone who never would have entered a Deka race ever. She had so much fun. She'll do one again. So again, it's just helping to bring more exposure to the sport. So I don't think it has to be someone who's necessarily done a Deka or qualified for the world championships. Because again, you're talking about this tiny, tiny group, like tiny pool of people. So I think let whoever come. If someone gets injured, fill their spot. Like we want more people at these events. So why are we limiting people?
I think Dylan's idea is not bad. I actually take some merit with it. I think it's good, but I think it might be a couple years off because of what you say
Yes.
with the small pool. It may be down the road. That's the thing. I wanted to talk about this because some people, and this is because we're all in agreement here that the alternates should be allowed in one form or another. I wanted to put this out to some of the people who think that it should not be allowed. And I'm going to go with this, and I'm going to approach this from a business perspective and from growing the sport. Let's, for argument's sake, say that Taylor Williamson, who was there this weekend and ran in the strong, high-level CrossFitter, great CrossFitter, part of the Mayhem crew, but if I'm right, Heather?
yes.
Yes.
She's on CrossFit Mayhem team.
Yeah, CrossFit
With
Mayhem.
Rich
If she
Froning.
goes back and says, Rich, this was so much fun, this kicked ass, you and I need to go in there and run the relay next year. Right? So she goes, Rich Froning, he says, I'm in. They come, they sign up. World champions are coming. They qualified at another race, right? So they went off and qualified it. Let's call it tennis in Tennessee. World championship comes up. They're going. Taylor Williamson gets hurt. So now, if you believe that no alternate should be allowed, that means we call Rich Froning and say, I'm sorry, you're out. And every eyeball that would have been on the sport, every bit of attention that would have came to that sport is now gone. And from a business perspective, or growing the sport perspective, that is moronic. But yet that's what that leads to. And it just can't be. And I mean, that's just the one part of it. Just no one's maybe talked about. There's also the, denying someone who's worked so hard, like Bethany in a situation like this, denying her the right to race because her partner got injured, denying the other teams that I've counted 7 so far that had injury replacements, denying them the right to, the person who earned that spot, the right to go. I mean, I see the other side of the coin. I understand that side of the debate. I don't think there's any bringing me over to it.
So they think that it should just roll down. Cause like then you get people who didn't really even qualify. Like so you two people that didn't qualify in a race.
Cronin, you're out. Claxton, you're in.
Yep. Don't.
You make that phone call because I don't think Yancey's going to want to make it.
And most
No, I know.
at our level do want to compete against the best.
Yeah.
So I know me and Bethany were bummed that we actually came in seeded, well, Bethany's team seeded number 2, and the number 1 team was not able to make it. And, you know, we want the best competition out there. It is a world championship. So
That
most
was a
athletes aren't going
race.
to complain when they have good competition there.
If you don't let the athletes who qualified go, then you're like watering down the pool of people who like didn't really qualify. That's one thing I didn't like about Deka's roll down system. Like when the top 12, if they didn't get in, like they opened it up from 13 to 24. So like 24 could get in, but like 13 didn't get in just based on like when you registered.
Mm-hmm.
So like it doesn't like, I don't know. I think it like waters down the competition, and then you'll see like these big spreads from like first to last because some of those people really didn't even belong in the heat.
My
I mean,
wife has her hand up.
So harsh about it, but I mean, it's just is what
it's
you have somebody
it's
that
harsh, but it's true.
Mhm.
I mean, we
Like-
just
like
like with
24
it being a small sport. With it being a small sport, there's not a lot of talent saturation. And so you do see, you know, I honestly think about the fact. So I look at the mile. I finished 4th in the mile. I fully don't believe that I was supposed to be 4th in that mile. There were 3-4 other guys who should have been in that didn't get in because of, you know, qualification processes that went faster than me that day. Like, I think there are a few issues with regards to how people are getting in, and who gets into those final waves, where you know that there's talent that kind of gets either boxed out or a lack of talent that, and I hate to call somebody untalented, but you know, the same way if you line me up in an Olympic 5K, I'd be pretty fucking untalented compared to those guys out there. That's just what it is. But until we start to get a huge pool of athletes that are all really, really good, you're going to see those disparities where you look at the finishing time from the first male or female to the last male or female, and there's going to be 4 to 5 minutes there as opposed to a spread that's 60 to maybe 75 seconds.
just crazy. I fully expected like the spread between the men's mile, like 8 or 9 guys in there doing burpees at the same time. Big, like intense thing. But there was, like Dylan said, like, I mean, not down on you, Dylan, but there's like 2 minutes. There's like a 2-minute spread between like 1st and 4th, and like even a big spread between like, I mean, between Rylan and Kent, there was a minute before Magida, and then there was another minute before Dylan, and then there was almost another minute before the next person. So like in such a short event, it's like imagine you're watching a 5K and you see the first guy come and he's like 7 minutes, and the 7th guy comes like 17 minutes. Like it's just really weird because you don't like see those kind of like huge gaps in like regular races because, like you said, the talent is not like saturated yet. And that's why you see world records being broken all the time, is because like the sport is so new and it's just going to continue to like evolve and bring in athletes from different disciplines. And then I think the qualifying will be more genuine is not like the word I'm looking for, but like the people who get in will be like closer together. Like there was people in the age group heats that like cooked some of the people in the elite.
Hey,
I got cooked. I got cooked, and then Nick Riker talked shit to me about it, and I was like, "Hey," like he was like, "Dylan, this guy put you in the ground." I was like, "Hey, you know what, Nick? You did a good job, but I mean, what else do I say to that? I mean, great run, you know. You should have been there." But that's just kind of how it is. And I apologize, I can't stay on any longer. My dog's harassing me right now, and I gotta hop off.
Dylan, thanks for joining us, buddy, and congrats. What a
Hey,
great
thank you
weekend
for letting me
had.
on for a little bit.
Congrats, open world champ.
Open world champ, baby. Let's go. The masses ain't ready for it.
Crushing the masses.
I love y'all.
Yeah, Dylan.
Bye.
Hi, Dylan.
All right. So that being, sorry, go ahead, Tara.
I was just gonna say about the mile. I thought that there would be like the biggest like upsets in the mile because the course layouts are so different
Mhm.
from gym to gym. So I don't know if y'all heard I think Sandbach and Tim were like talking about the High Rocks doubles, how they broke their record, and Hunter was like, horses, not courses.
Yeah.
So really like get all the people out on the same course, and like you'll see some of the people ran much slower than they ran at other courses, especially like the strong, because the course layout was not as good as gyms. And I feel like maybe they can standardize the mile better somehow in the gym setting.
Yeah. So before we go to that, I'll go back to the qualifying for 1 sec. Is the qualifying system, like you say, since is it flawed, or is it still just a matter of it will be good within time?
For which
all-
events?
For all events, or
All events, any of them. I mean, you apply it to whatever one you want.
well, I think Fit's good because they're all like standardized. Like they all have like moderately good judges, like too. Like I was expecting like maybe a lot of no reps from like gym events, because who knows how they're being like regulated, or
Mhm.
if being regulated. So those are just like kind of on the gyms as opposed to like an actual Deka Fit event. You can argue like the volunteers weren't regularly enforcing the rules, but at least there's like someone there that is enforcing them, even if not as good as they should be.
Mhm.
So I think that it's like it's hard when you have those gym events, because I think people who qualified, maybe, I mean, I saw a lot of crazy shit out there this weekend. Not good stuff, like as far as like rules and but I mean, we've talked a lot about this, about like standardizing movements and stuff, and how we can make the sport better to make it like easier for volunteers to judge, so that we can make it more like uniform for everyone.
I think that it would be cool to have regional championships, and then go to the world, similar to CrossFit. The argument could be, well, I finished 5th in my region, but I would have finished 2nd in a different region. But, you think about going to the CrossFit Games, they do the same thing. They have the regional qualifiers. And it's just, who shows up at that qualifier.
So with regionals, can you go to any region, or are you like if I wanted to fly to the Midwest to hit that region, could I hit all the regions? Or are you like in CrossFit? I don't know.
Is this like a going to Madrid
I'm
thing?
not sure.
Yeah, is it like going to Madrid to like sleds kind of thing?
I'm not sure, but I think it's hard because there's so limited events right now also, because I know my qualifying time for the strong and the mile were back in March and April of this year. And there's no event for me to be able to do the rest of the year. So, and it almost hurt me. I was ranked number 4 all the way up until September, when people started trying to qualify those last 2 weeks, and I got bumped all the way down to 11th and 12th, and there was nothing that I could do about it. There was no event for me to go to try to get my spot back. So I think that if there was like a regional championship, that could help with that.
I think a regional thing's interesting, but I think there's a lot of setup to that. And when you're only dealing with about 7 events a year, is that the way to go? If you had a regional thing, I guess I would think you could open it up to anybody.
Yeah, like the
Right?
High Rock did the North American Championships. Like just
But they
open it.
didn't do that this year. They did it last year. This year they're not doing it.
That's what I'm saying. Like open up the Deka regionals. Like, and I don't know why they don't. I know I talked to Yancey about this before. Like they don't want to do the trifecta weekends because they don't want to take away from the gyms. But I think they could just make the regional qualifiers at every Deka event.
And I don't think
them.
I don't think it would take away from the gyms at all, because I know myself that if now having 2 local Deka gyms, I would go to every one of their events, or definitely like if they have a mile or whatever, I'd go to them. It would not stop me from going to a regional event. It would not, and a regional event would not stop me from going to the local gym, because if anything, I'd want to go to the local gym to tune up for the regional events so that I'm ready for it. If any, it would encourage me more. So I do like this idea. It's not bad at all. You just have to iron out how many people from each regional event you brought. Yeah, I think it's not a bad idea.
It still sounds like something that's maybe a couple years down the road still. Like we only just had our first event in Canada. So for us, it was still really difficult to
I
even
won.
qualify. Yeah, it was a very small event in Canada. And so I was only able to get into 2 events before. So I think the qualification was just difficult because of the lack of events still. So I think in time that would be really awesome. The thing with the regional things too, though, is we're always looking for venues then, and that seems to be a little bit trickier than when we have these gyms that can do the strongs and the miles. So it's not like we have these set locations for them, like with the gym locations being set in place. So I think it's something that's probably maybe a couple years away still. So we might see the qualifications be the same with just your list of, the top 12 and then the roll down for now until the sport continues to grow. But again, one of the benefits of having those trifecta weekends is, again, you're getting to race the best or better than you do at these small gym events where you have one lane. So you're not really head to head with anybody. So it's picking events where you're going to be pushed to potentially run faster time. So it would draw more people in.
I mean, I could agree with that. I think that High Rocks is running that problem right now. They're only having 4 events to qualify you for Chicago in the United States. So, like, I don't know how how the depth is going to be, because if you can't make it, I mean, there's only 1 event left for this year in the United States. So if you can't make it to those events, then you're kind of just like shit out of luck in competing at the US championship, which I think will even water down, like, since now they're moving to top 3 make it. So, I mean, I think obviously the top 3 would probably be pretty solid, but I mean, I think it's going to water down the competition if you only have 4 events that you can go to and you're limiting the number of people that could potentially go.
I think, like I said, I like Heather's idea with this. And how many events how many Deckers are going before the Worlds next year? 7 events, I think, are mapped out, 6 or 7. I have no problems with every one of them being a regional qualifier. You don't even have to call them a regional qualifier. You can just call them a qualifier.
Yeah,
And
just have the mile and the strong at the same events, so
Yes.
that, like, you don't have to travel. Like, I know that Deka, the affiliate gyms aren't everywhere yet. If you travel for a bit, you might as well, like, go ahead and get your qualifying time for those events too. Like,
yeah, and it makes it more special. It makes it more of a big deal. And I think that was part of the joy. The great part of this weekend was that everything was on equal terms. Everything was special, and I think they could bring that to each event.
yeah. Well, then you get, like you said, everything's equal or standardized versus, like, racing in a gym where really the strong is probably not as big of an issue, but the mile, I mean, I've had a discrepancy of, like, my slowest event being like 21 minutes and then my fastest event being like 1940. So, I mean, that's a big discrepancy. Like, and the course layout could be the difference between, I mean, I'm sure there's some of the age groupers in there that could have been like competitive in the mile, like Nick Riker. And I think even a guy was ahead of him in the age group. I don't remember what his name was, but like, they're like 18 low, and then they're like in the top 5 of the elite, but they're not, because whether they had a bad course or like, I feel like Nick talked a lot about, there was like some athletes he saw that were like, they videoed their qualification and they had videos of it, and it was just bad, like really bad. And so, like, you're letting those qualifying times in too, and then that's kicking out like athletes that are like adhering to the rules.
Yeah, I think it's spot on. I think it's a great idea. The only thing I see as, and I'm not saying it's a flaw in it or whatever, because I don't know, is financially, is it feasible to do the 2-day events at all of these events? Does that work fiscally, scheduling wise, things like that? Because we saw it this weekend. You cannot do all of it in one day. That just will not happen. I mean, what's that?
Dylan could.
Well, I don't mean that. I mean, from a logistics standpoint, Dylan might not stop. He'll just go straight through the night. But I mean, I was there. I ran the last open wave. Well, Beth and I both, we ran the last open wave before the volunteer wave. And our start time was what?
7:30 p.m.
7:30 p.m. So yeah, with considering most people have to fly and won't take long weekends and stuff, you'd probably have to try to condense it somehow. You know, it would definitely be necessary. And
Enough. Do you not think that they could like have the mile and the strong going on at the same time?
depending on the venue. And actually, you know what? Actually, I'm gonna outright say no. Not just because of the venue, but because that means extra sets of timing mats. That means extra volunteers, which you're already short on, extra judges, which you're already short on, and just a whole extra staff. And I don't think they could do it logistically. I mean, it's a nice thought, but I just don't think it would work. But I do think financially, even though I question it, it makes sense to me that it would go through. There was a lot of people that went through the mile and the strong, and they seemed happy. Bouncing a little bit, because you mentioned this courses and how they're not all different. They're all kind of different, and definitely with the miles, big difference from gym to gym. What did you think of the setup there? Because I mean, specifically, Tara, you were in the mayhem, and Heather, like, it was kind of chaos.
It was,
I was
a lot of chaos.
Very upset that they didn't, like in Jacksonville, they set up like a mini loop, like a mini Deka loop.
Mhm.
Why they didn't do that this time? I mean, I don't. It was better than I thought it was going to be from like your little sketch. For whatever reason, I thought that there'd just be like running back and forth and like chaos and like people running into each other. So I think it spread out a lot more than I thought. I thought that people were going to be a lot tighter, so that helped. But I could only imagine if there was like big packs of like 8, 9, 10 of us going into the stations at the same time. But it was okay. But only because I think it was pretty spread out.
What about you, Heather? You said it was chaos.
It was just because it was kind of a free for all after the first station. So between the 12 athletes plus each one with a judge, that's 24 people all standing in a small area. I know I had to push 2 judges out of the way, although I was last coming into a rower. I had to like go through a maze and push people out of my way to even get to a rower. So it was fair in a sense that every athlete had the same course, so we all dealt with it.
So what if I suggested this? The same course later. I thought the running loop might be sketchy, but I think it actually turned out okay. What if everybody had assigned lanes the whole way across? And one other change. We took the farmer's carry and the tank and turned them 90 degrees. So that you're running up to the farmer's carry, you finish, and then yes, you have to run back across the lane, but you are running in your lane. There's no real collisions. There's no scrambling for position and all that stuff.
Wait, so are you talking about now the mile, or are you talking about the strong?
Well, I would do that setup for both.
I feel like though in the mile, if you're gonna make your own like lane, I think that they should have just had each person's like setup, and then you run down back, and everybody has their own lane.
I'm gonna be honest, I get why you say that, but I enjoyed the interaction on the running track. One of the big moments.
People though, like go down and back.
Yeah, I know. Well, just one of the big moments, and you might not have seen this, but on the last loop between Kent and Rylan, Kent got out of the tank early, and then Rylan came behind him, and Rylan made like this outside apex turn where he passed Kent on the corner and came back up. And some of the interaction on the track I really liked. And then I also think to the fit were two of the best moments were in the farmer's carry where you guys were all together. You know, and I mean, like Lauren went from first to fourth on that farmer's carry, and that's where you, Tara, you were pushing and, you know, coming up on them, and that was exciting. That was intense. And Rich made his press on Rylan right on that scenario too. So we would have been robbed of that. And I kind of liked that. I kind of got turned around on that.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's how, like, the way I would have it set up is more like CrossFit.
Yes.
You'll see CrossFit. I mean, I don't think CrossFit's any less exciting to watch than run across the field. I think it's just, maybe it's a better experience for the spectator to have it set up the way you would have it set up. But I think for the athlete, like, it's definitely, like, you don't have to worry about anything. Like, I was, when I watched the one where Corning is like trying to find a box, he's like seated number 1. Like, I just feel like that kind of stuff is like really annoying.
Mm-hmm.
And with the mile, if you had the run in and run out, the last seat is always going to have like the end spot.
Yes.
So they're always going to be running a little bit extra into each station. And then, like, is that really like the same course? Like, they're getting shafted like every single time.
Yeah,
That's why I was so far behind.
But then if you make it a free for all, like, then you're like at least jostling for your position. Like, it's not like, oh, go to the back, Heather, every single time. Like boss in the back, like, sorry. But if at least you're racing for it, like, there's like a level of like strategy. Like, do I get out? Do I like I knew I was pushing that rower because I was like, I'm not gonna get corninged, and like somebody's gonna freaking take all the boxes, and I'm gonna have to run to the other side. So, like, I think that
I saw a female body check someone off of a ski erg.
Yeah.
It wasn't totally intentional, but they bashed shoulders and one girl got sent off the ski erg. Like, it makes for interesting competition, but I think that would be very stressful.
well, and imagine like an athlete like you going up against Taylor Williamson. You ain't. I mean, like, you know, it was an interesting experience on the strong. I was thinking about it. I was like, man, I don't think I've ever been on a line, and I've been like one of the smallest people on the line. I'm like, huge.
Same.
I'm like, yeah, this is crazy. Like, I don't know. It's weird.
I think though that if Bethany was in that situation and like Taylor Williamson ran her over, I would have very exciting things to do in the commentary, and that would be a lot of fun for me. So
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be fighting for a position with Taylor Williamson. Get
No.
off my box. Shove her.
Bethany gets there first. Taylor comes up. That's my box. Okay, you take it. I'll go over to this
find
one.
another one.
Thank you. Can I have an autograph? Actually, what did you think of having her out there? Like, when you saw her lined up at the line, that Heather and Tara, like, was that an intimidating thing? Were you?
I didn't even know which one she was. So no.
Oh, so cool.
I was actually very surprised that she came. But it was definitely good for our sport. It would be good if she kind of put out on her Instagram or something about it, so other people other than us knew that she came. But I think it was really cool that she actually came and showed up. And then I think afterwards she was definitely surprised at the athletes that were there.
Those mayhem people get real salty about losing. Rich Froning, when we won Legends of the Fall, he just he left. He didn't even stay for awards.
He did that the first year with us also.
Salty.
We're all lucky Rich doesn't listen.
Oh, I'm his #1 fan. He's like one of my #1 athlete crushes. So it's okay. He's still pretty. He's just so salty. He don't like to lose. I don't like to lose either.
No.
So I feel
I'm getting used to it. So I will start with Tara, because I mean, this is for you. Obviously, you came out unbelievably strong in this. What would be the highlight for you of the entire weekend? And I mean, for those of you who do not know, Tara won the Deka Fit. She won the Deka Strong and came third in the Deka Mile. So where would you put the highlight for you?
Oh, definitely the fit. Like the fit's what I've like really been training for, like since since after High Rocks World Championships. So after Palm Beach, I was like I went through a big strength cycle, and like I hadn't done very much cardio before that. So I was like happy with where I was, but I was like not happy with like how I raced. Like I feel like I didn't like believe that I could like stay up with the pack. So that really just like, even though I got second, it still like ruined my race because I didn't race the race. So I was super proud that I like let myself get out fast with the pack. Didn't have like a lot of negative talk. Like usually sometimes I'll get in my head. Like we split that first 500 and 140, and I was like, this is too fast. This is 520 pace. Like, why are these people going out like 3K pace? This is like insane. So I like stuck with it mentally, which I was really proud of. And then when I got to the point where I knew that I was real confident, then it was kind of easy from there. Like after I got off the bike and I was in first, I was like, well, this is like my race now. So I was happy that I gave myself like enough time. So I was confident enough that I could hang with them until I got to where I was more like confident in the race.
What about you, Heather? What was how did it all come for you? What was the highlight of the weekend for you? I pretty easy guess, but go for it.
Well, definitely winning the doubles relay was the highlight, but really just in general being there competing with the lineup of all those girls that were there, looking at their sport background and mine, which is nothing. Just being able to toe the line with them. I have a hard time with like the self-confidence and getting in my head and telling myself I don't belong here with these girls. So just being able to have the confidence to toe the line with them and telling myself that, you know, I can compete with them and I do belong there. It's Olympic trial athletes and collegiate track athletes, and then there's just me. But I think I held my own. So I was pretty proud of myself just for competing with that field of women.
Beth?
My highlight, yeah, like I had a blast competing with Heather. One of the things I love the most about this hybrid racing thing, and I see it maybe more in Deka, is just the range of athletes who are really good at this. We've said it a bunch of times, is you could never necessarily see a lineup on the start line and be able to pick who's going to win the race. And people come from such different backgrounds and extremely different body types, and it's just such a cool sport in the type of athlete who excels in it, because it's just such a big range. And I think the team sport probably brings it out the most, because it takes two people who have different strengths to really do well in it, or two people who divide the work really well. But just the whole weekend, just seeing the caliber of athletes who probably all came from very different disciplines, and just really, really well-rounded athletic abilities in order to be good at this sport. Like, you have people that come in who might have been the best at their one discipline in the past, and they come in and they're kind of in the mix within a hybrid athlete world. So I just think it's such a cool sport in that way. So yeah, just the whole weekend in a whole, but getting to see work with Heather on that team event and just see how phenomenal she is at what she does, and then work together with her to do the things that I'm good at, and then have it come together. And I didn't expect that we would win by the amount that we did, but so to just like put together such a good race with someone who I just met, but I knew before, and then just to be able to admire what she does in that type of race.
One of the things I really like about this, and I think Tara's the same with this, because she likes numbers, she likes the splits, she likes the stats, and it sounds silly because you guys are your podium, you're up front, you're that, but for people like me and some people who are a little further behind, you can take small victories, little itty bitty victories. And I mean, Beth, you probably know what I'm going to say, but Rye brought this up right beforehand. She went through the splits, and her and Liv beat you and Heather on the sled, on the tank. I mean, it's
Oh,
little,
really?
yeah, it's
That's my
little
fault.
victories.
That is not Heather's.
But it's
Funny, I met Dylan and said he beat Kent in the farmer's carry.
oh yeah.
Can hang his hat on that. Even though he had a bad race, he beat Kent in the farmer's carry.
And I'm serious. It sounds silly, but it's little victories that give you that. I can build on that. I can improve that. All right. I've got a starting point. Let's go. Let's get better on that. And I admit I did. I looked at my row, and my row was faster than a lot of some of the big guns. And I'm like, yeah. See, I can do that. I can improve these other things. I can get closer. And I think it's really cool. But Tara, you've already been breaking down the splits.
Yeah.
How much does that help you to motivate, to train, to focus?
Well, it helps, like, because you know exactly what you need to focus on. Like, I compare myself to the field, how far I am off the field, what stations can create the most gap between the field. Like, there's a lot of stuff that goes into, like, how I train, and a lot of it is where my deficits are, where I can see, like, the most, like, space. Like, I was thinking about it the other day, and I was, like, do I think a woman can go under 31? And I was doing the numbers, and I was like, I think they can. Like, so just like breaking down stuff like that in ways that you can create like small gains through transitions. And that's what I like about the sport, because there's so many things to improve upon. And if you look at, I looked at Rich's splits for the fit, and he didn't win a single station. I think he won one station. I should have the numbers. Hold on. I was looking at the numbers earlier. The only station Rich won was the 5K. So like he's not the best at really anything except running, but he doesn't have any holes in his game. So it's like not always about being the best, but like not. I think is it Rich Froning? No, one of them, Matt Frazier. He's like, he works so hard to not have a wheelhouse or something like that.
I like
So
that.
everything so well that like he doesn't have any holes in his competition. And it's funny, I was talking to Rich about this, like, and Bethany, you can probably relate. Hybrid is also so weird. Like, from a runner's background, you would never ever take an 8K out at 3K pace and expect, like, you just wouldn't do it. You would see somebody do that and you'd be like, that guy is a total moron. Like, they're like, the guy's field had to take out like 450, like, and Rich split 17 flat, so he's only running like 530 pace. So you're running like almost a full 40 seconds faster per mile out the gate, which is, it's just not the way you would normally run a race. So I think it's taken me some time to like be like, you don't run the race like you run a run race.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's how I ran Palm Beach, is I ran it like a run race. I like the first third of the race, you know, I'm like comfortable. And then you start to like get into the race, and then the last third you hurt. Like this, you gotta be risky. And like you can see too, like I know specifically like Rylan, he like crashed, he burned the first part of the course, and then he started to fade. So there's like this eloquent like balancing act that you have to like manage your fatigue, but still like be able to run.
And from someone who not from a track background, really, why is that? Because I get it in OCR. I understand why that go out hot theory works in OCR. I don't understand as much why it wouldn't be as applicable, like the same track guidelines wouldn't be as applicable here, because in OCR, you're trying to avoid bottlenecks, you're trying to avoid a lot of stuff.
Like OCR is like trail racing. Why wouldn't it adhere to like the proper rules of like trail racing? Nobody sprints out a half marathon trail race, but every single person on that Spartan's starting line starts out at least like 30 to 40 seconds faster per mile, probably, than they're going to run average over the whole entire race. It is such a weird sport, and I don't really understand it, but
Well, it's because you have opportunities to recover, though. So, like, you couldn't go out in a 5K on the track, like in 3K pace, because there's never an opportunity when you get into lactic to actually like recover from that, because you're just running. But in hybrid, so like we know so there's stations where you'll be able to recover from that, and whatever stations that are for you. So, but you don't have that when you're just flat out racing. So you have to manage lactic, you have to manage fatigue, your heart rate, all those things. But hybrid, it's all this up and down stuff. So you have opportunities to go back into a zone where you can recover.
Yeah, it just feels wrong.
That honestly might be the most educational thing we've ever done right there.
Yeah.
Like that may have been the most logical, because I actually understand. That makes sense to me.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just like, but I feel like, I don't really Spartan race that much anymore, but I feel like there's like less of an opportunity to recover in that, because it is so much running, like, and the stations are so short that, you know, a lot of those people are just like flying through them in 10, 15 seconds, but they still like race in a similar manner. That's not like really, like typical to like running.
We'll see if it ever pays off, where someone comes in and tries that, sticks to that steady Eddie approach, that track style approach, and see if they can make it pay off. Because
No, it doesn't. You told me. I told you. Palm Beach. That's exactly what I did, and
it didn't pay off.
It didn't pay off.
And I'm sure,
Steady.
I'm sure that's something
I
that
think Tara kind of stayed back in this one. Did you not? And then kind of made your move.
I never had
Again?
more than 6 seconds gap off the front pack. I knew exactly where I was. Like,
Okay.
I was talking to somebody about there's this thing in running, maybe other sports, that they call breaking the chain. I'm sure Bethany's heard of it, but when you break the chain, like the people behind you stop racing you. So like when Lauren broke away in Palm Beach, nobody was worried about Lauren anymore. Everybody, me, Bridget, and Vivian are all racing each other. Like, Lauren's in her own race. So she was only 16 seconds ahead, but it felt like we weren't even in the same race as her. So like, I feel like in this sport, if you allow that to happen, like, and if you watch Rich run too, he never let himself get so far off the pack that he wasn't still kind of in striking distance during the race. Like, I think me and him ran probably a very similar race. I still want to go back and like watch him and see how far he was off, but it's definitely a more strategic type of racing strategy versus like, I think, and if you look at the run splits, it's really weird that Kent doesn't run that fast, but he stations so well that like he's able to like stay in it. But I think as the sport progresses, like there's going to be more riches. Like, you're not going to be able to run like a 17 high 5K and still be competitive. So you're going to have to do both. And I've talked to a lot of people about high rocks. Like, you have a lot of athletes like Miriam who station so well, but like their run splits are like over 7 minutes. And as the sport grows, I don't think you'll see that anymore. You're either going to have to learn how to run, or like you're just not going to be able to make up that gap in the stations. Just like people like Laura won't be able to make up the time in the run. As the sport gets better, people will get better at both. And you'll get real hybrid athletes versus like runners and strength athletes, which is kind of what we have now in a lot of ways.
Are you guys like me in thinking that probably some of the people who may be the best at this just aren't even here yet?
Yes.
Definitely.
Look at Meg Jacoby. Like, she just world record. Like, if we take away what Linda did, like, she shattered the world record by like over 3 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And I also
like,
think with Taylor Williamson, I doubt she did one specific workout to train for this. And I think if she would just like put as much as we do into it, trying to shave off just 1 second here and there, just with technique, with box overs, technique with the dead balls, just little small things, I think she could have probably easily won it if she just practiced on it. Not easily.
By like for 30 seconds, so I'd be easy with the word. 30 seconds it's like
she would have been closer had, I think, she actually focused on it and tried to actually learn the technique for some stuff, whereas we've spent weeks training for this one event. I'd be surprised if she even did any specific training for this event.
She was out fast though. I think she just died.
She said that I had a chat with her afterwards and asked her about a few things, and I will post it eventually. But she said, yeah, it wasn't long, and it started to burn. That the cardio element did get to her, and she gave a lot of credit to you ladies who were out the front, and how, you know, what incredible athletes you are. And so I think that actually is a real credit to you guys and to the sport, that it is growing a little bit, because I think a lot of people thought she would just walk in and smash everyone. And she didn't. And it wasn't because something screwed up. It wasn't because she was injured. It wasn't because she was out of shape or didn't care or didn't try. It was because you're good. And it's that simple. So while I do believe things are going to get faster and faster, and for those like Tara and you two who are at the top, you're going to have to continue to get faster and faster to stay there, because new blood is coming that will push. And what is the record today will become the qualifying mark tomorrow, kind of deal. You know, I mean, that's an exaggeration, but you understand what I'm saying is, you know, what's that saying? Your warm up today will, or your personal best today will be your warm up next year, kind of deal.
Right.
Yeah.
So what did you think of Atlantic City?
It was dirty.
Let's move along.
Pick a new venue, Deka.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Probably won't go back.
Parma.
I will say the venue
Florida.
was nice. The venue was good.
Yeah, as long as you go outside of like a 3-block radius.
You went that far?
No, I did. Well, yes, we had to go to Walgreens so Dylan could get his candy.
Oh, we went there and there was a police officer at the doorway. And I was like, you got to have a police officer just to come into Walgreens?
Do you know, it's funny because I mean, I'd heard all these jokes about New Jersey and Atlantic City and stuff, and I just thought it was like anything. It was, you know, poking fun and jokes and stereotypes and whatnot. Wow.
Bad.
Yeah.
You know, one good thing there is you don't pump your own gas.
Yeah. There you go.
They pump your gas in New Jersey.
Interesting.
Yep. Yep. Water's a little expensive, but that's okay. I don't want to go into that. So that being said, the venue being what it was, and like I said, the venue is nice. Hotel where most of us stayed was very nice. That stuff was cool. Not being announced yet. I'm not even sure they know or have secured completely. Where should it be next year?
Florida.
I think I heard on something, was it an interview or right after you did with Yancey? He said maybe Arizona, Texas area.
Yeah, I did. He did. And that's actually right at the end of the women's mile on the live stream. You can hear that. He threw out a few possibilities.
He wants to bring it home.
Well, I mean, I think he said it right there. It's to the point now where the venues are wanting this, and it's becoming a matter of, I would say, finances as to
Who's the highest bidder?
Yeah, pretty much. That's kind of what I think he's getting at. And I think
Going to Abu Dhabi, everybody.
isn't everything going to Abu Dhabi? Oh, that's that World Cup stuff going on right now. That's not too good over there in Qatar, is it? That's yeah, anyway.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
And Argentina lost.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah, okay. The biggest upset in probably like World Cup history.
Did they lose to?
Qatar, I think.
Oh,
No. Saudi.
Saudi. Yeah.
One of them countries over there. But like they're always in it. Argentina is like one of the best soccer teams in like the world.
Tara, do you go next week to
I go tomorrow.
tomorrow?
Yeah.
Race is this weekend?
Yeah, Saturday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you tapered good last weekend.
Well, I'm just ride the fitness, you know. Ride the fitness Saturday, and then I'll take like a week off.
Awesome.
So let's say you score a huge win. And sorry, and just tell everybody you're headed overseas for High Rocks, right?
Yes, Madrid.
Madrid, home of
To
the
the land
fast
of
sled.
fast sleds.
So
But
let's
not 10-foot wall balls. I don't know if y'all heard, but in the last Spain race, they only had 10-foot targets, and women had to throw to 10-foot feet.
Really?
Yes. Like,
Oh,
I don't
wow.
reason they didn't have 9-foot targets, and that's why you'll see like the top girls, like their wall balls took like 6.5 minutes because they didn't have a 9-foot target. They will see very American if there is no 9-foot target. So they better get their shit together.
they couldn't find like any, tape, like a hammer, maybe a square, something.
I mean, I just don't even know how the women who came in didn't realize that there was no 9-foot target. I mean, I don't know.
How did the build crew not realize?
I don't know.
All right. I love High Rocks. I'm not bad mouthing High Rocks at all. Looking at that, I don't have any High Rocks stuff up here. I should have it. It's not starting out well, this statement. But I love High Rocks, but there's been some stuff lately that's just not been good.
Yeah. What else is going on?
Well, just with the judging, there's
with the burpees,
the constant wall ball issues. Just, I know that they try to improve stuff. I do like they made modifications to the qualifying system. I don't think they went far enough, but I did like the direction they went. And I still think they put on this amazing production. They're doing really well, especially in the UK. But I'm hearing complaints more and more, and I'm just like, they got to stay on top of it because they're riding this awesome wave and they're doing really well. And I want it to keep going up. And I'm worried they're just going to fall off this cliff if they don't fix some of these issues.
Well, I'm worried they won't make it in America. Like,
Well,
I feel like pull out.
The attendance is up, right?
I don't know if is attendance up or is attendance are they I don't know what their break even point is. Like, they need 1,200 to break even. They need 2,000 athletes to break even. Like, those venues are expensive, and I'm not sure. I don't know. I mean, a lot of money comes from sponsors and stuff like that, but I just can't imagine with less than 1,000 attendees that they're making any money.
Well, and sponsorship runs dry very quickly when you're not having a very big televised product or streamed product, or B, not getting a ton of attendance for people to buy things, for example, Puma shoes or virus wear or anything like that. If you're not getting the people to buy that stuff, your sponsorship will run out quickly. I'm like you. I worry about them in the United States. I was very glad to hear they're moving up. They're getting better. And hopefully they stay on that path. But I think they will not unless they clean up.
But they're floating. They have 2-day event now, and they had a 2-day event in Hong Kong, and I don't know what the attendance was like there, but then they have a 2-day event in London, and
yeah, they're just printing money in London.
Yeah, 5,000 people or something. 5,000 people. I think they sold out.
They're getting 2,000 spectators.
Wow.
And I mean, that's awesome. That's fantastic. But they haven't cracked the code in North America yet. So.
Yeah, I just don't understand what the difference is, why they're able to market so well and be successful in the UK but not America.
I don't know. You guys are in America. You have better grip. That's
I
right.
think CrossFit is bigger here than it is over there, maybe.
Yeah.
So more people are in the CrossFit world here.
Well, I feel like there's been not a lot of
run.
I feel like there's too much running. CrossFit don't like to run that much, and runners think that it's we've talked about this before. They need a modified event.
Maybe Americans are just lazy and don't want to run that much. Is probably what it comes down to.
Well, I feel like an average person who works out, Deka Fit would maybe take them 45 to 60 minutes. An average person that works out, High Rocks would take them over 2 hours.
Yeah.
For real. And they might not even be able to finish. And I think the threshold for fitness for High Rocks is too high for the masses. And I think that's why people like Deka Fit. It's anybody could do it. So it's great. It's like a 5K. everybody can do a 5K. Like, come do this 5K with me. Like, I don't have to convince somebody to come. Like, I've convinced all kinds of people to do deck fit. I don't think I could convince people, oh yeah, you do this race and then you do like 100 lunges and then you do 100 wall balls and you're going to push this sled that weighs like 400 pounds. Yeah, they're going to like, I can't do that. So I think like the level of training that you need to have like to do a high rocks is just so much higher. Like, I think it's more of like a true athletic event versus like more of like a,
Get the masses into it.
masses. And I mean, if you're going to make money, you have to appeal to the masses. And I think High Rocks is just not buying into that whole like idea. They're more like, I think they say that High Rocks is for everybody, but that's like the people when CrossFit was coming out. Like, I had a guy that I was going to go work at a box and he was like, CrossFit is for everybody. I was like, CrossFit is not for everybody. Like, CrossFit is for people who are healthy and able to move their bodies correctly. Like, can't have like this 70-year-old guy in here doing barbell snatches that has like a frozen shoulder. Like, just doesn't work. CrossFit's probably not for him, and that's okay. Like, but I think they have this idea that like anybody can do it, and I just don't think that that's like that that everybody can.
Because even the team event in High Rocks, both people still have to cover 8K. So it's not like with Deka where you can split it up if you're a team.
I think maybe they could change it to like a relay, like a team, 2-person team relay. So maybe you could.
They do have the
you and Heather.
4-person.
Well,
They do
yeah,
have the 4-person team relay.
but people don't have that many friends. So then you got to convince 3 people to do. Like,
It's true.
I mean, like convincing 1 person to do something with you is sometimes hard. Convincing 3 people to go travel to an event to do it with you, like, I don't think their team events are like super popular. I haven't seen attendance for that kind of stuff, but I don't know if that's like one of their more popular events. So I think it's just hard to get 4 people together. But like, imagine you and Bethany, like Bethany runs and you do the stations, like then you can have like these teams that are like strength and speed.
Yeah.
So I think that would be fun to watch. The races would go much faster. Like, instead of having like a team race that takes like an hour and 10 minutes, now you have a team race that takes like 40 to 45 minutes, maybe 50 minutes. Well, maybe 45 minutes, but it's a lot faster pace. So it's like more spectator friendly. You could convince more people to do it. I could get my runner friends to come do it. I'll be like, hey, all you gotta do is run. And then I'm going to do all the stations and you'll get to do like rest in between. They'll be like,
Well, that's
cool.
pretty much what you and Dylan did.
Well, no, everything. And I just, so he still had to do all this stuff. He basically the women's race. And I just like jogged along beside, well, not jogged is a very loose word. I ran very laboredly beside him as he parted the masses for me to like run.
So essentially, you're describing exactly why I think the Deka relay is one of the best things going.
Yeah. Because if you 2-person, because that would alleviate a lot of like congestion too.
Mhm.
Because instead of having 2 people out on the course, you only have 1. So the relay, I mean, the doubles is just like a cluster. There's like way too many people out there. Like, even though we went first, like by the time they get a couple heats out, like all you're doing is like dodging people. People are walking in lane, like the lane 1. They clearly don't know track etiquette, which is very infuriating. And I'm just like, these people clearly never ran on a track. So it's just, I think that would make it more enjoyable for the athletes too. Like, you could attract more people, and then at the same time, the experience is better because you have like less congestion, less frustration.
I would like to see them do the PFT over here more. I think it's a great little workout. I shouldn't even call it a little workout. It's still got 100 wall balls in it. It's still got a lot of lunges, a lot of burpees, but I think it's a good starting point. And I have said before, a half rocks would be fantastic. And then I've heard a lot of people say they would love to do a high rocks with 0 running and just go through all those stations. Now, I actually am planning to try that as a sim someday very soon, because I think it'd be great. You still get your 1,000-meter ski, your 1,000-meter row. You're still going to get a shit ton of cardio out of it. It just, I think I'm gonna give it a try because I think it'll be a lot of fun.
I think they need to, I talked to them about this. So apparently when you do the PFT, it's free. They need to charge for that shit.
Like when you go to a gym and do it, it's free.
It's free.
Oh no, charge for it for sure.
How does the gym make any money? That's why I don't understand like the affiliate stuff. Like so they want to educate people about like the sport and stuff. Now, that's all grand and good, but people pay $30 to come do a little event and challenge themselves. And I think
50.
that's what Deka has done so good is that like they've basically outsourced a lot of their work. They're like, here, like these gyms run these events, and then like you send us 25% of your money. And then the gyms make money, Deka makes money, everybody happy. But like I don't understand, the affiliates are paying an affiliate fee and then they ain't making any money. So I don't understand like the draw for them to like, and maybe I don't know all the perks of being an affiliate or whatever. Maybe there's like things that the affiliates get that I'm not like privy to, but it sounds like to me they're like paying a fee and they don't really get their money back in like events and stuff.
And to your tune about the affiliates, you notice in North America, like Deka's throwing on affiliate seems every other post, every other day I'm seeing new affiliate, new affiliate, new affiliate. They keep going and going and going. And let's be honest, to become an affiliate with Deka is expensive due to the initial purchase of the equipment. The affiliate fee is really not that bad, but to buy all the set particular equipment it's expensive.
I feel like a lot of the stuff that people might already have though.
Yeah, but when you add up the tanks, the rams, like that stuff that most gyms do not have, it does add up. So anyway, just that being said, it is much cheaper to get the gear for high rocks because so you're talking ski erg and rower. So you're cutting out the sled or the tank, you're cutting out the bike, right? Which those are big ticket items, and you're cutting all those rams out. That said, to get the equipment much cheaper. I don't know what their affiliate fees, but I'm going to say they're comparable. But if you're not providing that, like you say, if they're not providing that, hey, come do a PFT event here, and we're not charging for it, yeah, there's no money to be made except for on name.
Yeah. Like I guess like you go on their website and you find them as an affiliate gym, and maybe you go work out there, like if you're on vacation or you're trying to train for a high rocks and you find them that way. I mean, I guess that's similar to like a CrossFit affiliate fee. Like CrossFit really wasn't providing them with really anything, and they were charging them for like $5,000 a year. At one point, I'm not sure like what the deal is now, but they were charging a pretty high amount just to like call your box of CrossFit.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would, obviously, I mean, this isn't being insulting, but I would tend to think the CrossFit name still is a much bigger draw than the High Rocks name when you're dealing with signing up members. So that may provide its value. That might actually provide its worth.
But maybe they're thinking like long term, and they think that High Rocks is going to be, because I imagine when CrossFit started, they still maybe charged an affiliate fee.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they did.
So it just wasn't big yet. Maybe they think they're going to be on the front end of like something big.
And they might.
Yeah, you never know.
So a couple of things I want to make sure we do before I forget. One, more than any time we've gone to any other race, I had more people come up to me and say hi, more people say thank you. Just a lot of stuff like that for what we do here. And I was blown away and super appreciative. And I don't even know how to put it, but it was like almost not embarrassing, but like bashful. Like people were being so nice. And I just want to say I really appreciate everyone that said hi and came up. That was so cool. I was excited. I was geeked out. I even said to Bethany, I said, this is, if someone wants to race me and wants to beat me, all they have to do is just plant someone on the side of the thing and say, hey, I watch your podcast. I'll go over and talk to them in the middle of the race because, I was just so geeked out by it. So it was a lot of fun. And just the people that I finally got to meet in person, Tara, Dylan, David Magida, Lauren Weeks, just like to name a few. It was just awesome. So I wanted to make sure I got that out before we glossed over it, because I tend to forget things. Is there anything else that you guys have as like a final take from the race? And what did you guys think maybe I'll do this before the final take. As spectators of the men's event, because you got to see that. What did you think, like, as far as an excitement level as a spectator?
Not.
I wish they
It was
would.
very exciting.
Sorry, go ahead, Heather.
It was very exciting as a spectator. Just how close it was, and the way it was set up was very spectator friendly. So that was cool that we could be right there to see it.
Tara?
I was actually minorly annoyed that we were always directly after, because like being such a fan of the sport, I want to like be able to actually watch. Like, I was able to like get a glimpse here while I'm warming up, glimpse there, but like I didn't get to like watch the race. So I'm like excited to actually watch the commentary and the live, well, not live stream, but like the race, because I didn't get to watch it. So I wish that there's some way, maybe if they could do like the men, like, I don't know, bigger gap. Maybe they could do like men's elite, men's age group, women's elite. I don't know how they would do it. But I would really like to watch the men's elite heat, because it's exciting, and I'm a spectator just as much as I'm an athlete. And or maybe next year they can switch them so that I can go first, and then after I'm done dying, I can watch the rest of the race.
What about you, Beth?
Yeah, I think they did a fantastic job of being really spectator friendly. Like in the 3 races that I watched, especially the mile and the strong, though, you were right there. And to be able to be that close and actually like yell things at your friends who are competing in, like, there was some really, really close matches on the men's side. So yeah, you just get so into it. And I mean, at this point, we know the guys, they're friends, and yeah, it was really, really exciting to watch. This is one of the exciting things about this sport specifically that's so different from Spartan racing, is you get to see every second of the race and how everything plays out, and you just don't get that in these big mountain races. So huge spectator friendly sport. Yeah, so I loved it.
And then for me, who obviously got to spectate in a very different way, I was blown away from, and I kind of thought I would be, from the excitement of the mile and the strong. And as far as doing commentary, it was like calling like a short car race. Like, it was just so fast, so much going on. It was almost to the point, like when you're talking about the fit, and when you're watching the fit and doing commentary on it, on the runs, there's like a lull where you can, and this was where Jack Bauer was so awesome, where he can bring in the stats, he can bring in the stories, he can tell you in very important details and facts about the athletes. When we did the strong, there was no time. There was just play by play and who's where and what's going on, and that was it. And that was really, I missed the stories and stuff, but it was also really exciting, like just nonstop
I think one of the
action.
coolest things too about Deka, like especially the mile, and well, all of them, is when people are on the machines, everyone just kind of sits there, and like there's like this hush, and everyone's waiting to see who moves first, because you have no idea where anybody is, and you can't tell even from people's stroke rates or anything like that. So people just kind of sit and wait, and then someone gets up off the bike, and then everyone's, oh my God, because leads are always changed, and it's so different too than in track racing where you see everything happen. But when people get on machines, you don't know what's happening, and it's really, really exciting in the 3 machines, especially because things happen in those, and you don't know what's happening until it's happened, and then people are gone, and then the race changes.
And that's one of the reasons I actually have this suggestion. I don't think I ever forwarded it to Yancey or to the officials, that I personally like, and I try to do this on live stream. I try to keep everybody's updated as possible as to like who the front runners are, where they are, how far are, how deep they are. But what would be great, I think, for the people even on hand, is very much stolen from CrossFit. Every 100 meters, hold up a finger.
But that the surprise that Bethany was just talking about.
Bethany can have Christmas at Christmas. You could still see, when they get to 100, I like a little bit of knowledge. And I think for people who don't understand the sport as much as Bethany and some of the other people, they're looking at it essentially for a minute and a half to 2 minutes going, I have no idea who's winning. Right. So I like that as a thing, just myself personally. So, but I guess Beth disagrees.
I don't disagree.
like
I think
the
it would be
idea.
cool, but like, it was just kind of one of the exciting parts of the race is you didn't know what was happening. But yeah, it would be neat if, even if, the last 10, like in the last 100, they were kind of counting down. But I mean, there was excitement in both ways. You're still watching, like, whose judge puts their hand up in the last 50 meters or something.
So I don't want to take too much longer, but I'm going to ask one last question. Moving forward into the future, if you were to be able to give Yancey and company one bit of advice to improve the sport, what would you do? We'll start with Heather.
Oh man. You mean
meant-
as far the sport, or as far as like possibly the layout of the event? You mean
Whatever you want to go.
I mean, I think it's a great event, all three events, because people can come in from different backgrounds, whether they're a strength athlete or a runner, and they can have a specific event that they're strong at. So I wouldn't change anything about the events. I like all of the stations. I don't think that Deka Strong and Deka Mile are stupid. The layout this past weekend, I would probably do each separate lanes, how they have it at your typical at the gym layouts, just so it's less chaotic. But as far as the events, I think that they're great, and I like that different people can come in from different backgrounds and kind of specialize and see their strengths in the separate events.
Cool. Tara?
Is this like realistic things that I would want to
Yes, realistic. Well, you can tell me your crazy things because I'm always entertained by that.
My Christmas list thing would be that every athlete has a trained staff, not volunteer, like just for the world championships, maybe. I don't know, somebody who knows the rules. Like I was in multiple occasions where I had to tell my ref how many reps that I was supposed to do. I had the snafu with the burpees because some people think it's a good idea to start counting down when you just count to 20
Yeah.
and change shit around. So like, I think that the training of the volunteers, I don't know, something with the volunteers could change to make it better, because I don't know, like there was just a lot of volunteer stuff that I experienced and that I heard, like volunteers letting people go before they finished all their reps. Like I had a client that was racing and like the girl did 12 reps. So like the ref counted to 12 or something and she ran. Ref didn't chase her down or anything. And then my client was like all upset because she was like, we were right together. And so like the biggest thing for me about sports is that everything is like, we've talked about this, that it's fair, it's standardized, and it's enforceable. So rules are only good if you can enforce them. So we need to create standards that are easily enforced, easily judged, to make this sport more about the athleticism versus about anything else. Like, so I think that, yeah, so between the standardization of movements, I don't think that there was a lot of like crazy stuff. I don't know. I've heard that there's rumors like now burpees are going to be like full lockout next year, not just overhead, which I think is like not a great rule. I think like it's easy to see space above the head. I've heard 6-inch rule. I'm like, who knows where 6 inches is? Like, men especially might have some issues with.
I mean, somebody had to say it.
So, but like, I just think that we've talked a lot about this. There's like stations that they could make. I think the sit-ups maybe just touch above and in front or something like that, because I think people got no reps because it's between their heels versus between their arches. I don't know. I think it just needs to be really easy. The ball throw is good though, because that's like, it touches or it doesn't touch.
Yeah.
So finding a way to make the rules like easier across the board for people who don't maybe understand the sport to like understand like this is the rule. Train the volunteers better. I don't know like how we would do that, or if it's feasible to ever like have paid judges for at least the elite heats. But that would be cool.
All right, paid judges. I think we'll go with that. Paid
Yeah.
trained judges. All right.
You just want to get paid.
Damn right. I don't do. You want to get paid. You're the one that judges. All right, Beth, go ahead.
Again, this was something that I guess was more personal too, but I think for the qualifications at the World Championship for age group, because how it worked was if you raced elite, you essentially were trying to qualify for the elite race, or you race the competitive heat, which would qualify you for the age group heats. So I only had one opportunity to race a Deka fit, and I raced elite. And I didn't run a qualifying time, but then I wasn't automatically eligible to race age group at the World Championship. So basically then with my time, I was shit out of luck. So I'm not racing at the World Championships in either the elite or the age group Deka fit. And this weekend I would have loved to have raced either any of the races as an age grouper, having not qualified in elite. So whereas you had to have run a competitive or age group race in order to qualify for that. So some roll down process in that sense, because the age group races then didn't necessarily represent the best in that age group. It was just people that chose to race age group in an event and got their times there. And there was all these people then who had raced elite in different races, who weren't able then to race the age group championship races. So that was kind of, I think, a big miss on their part, because I would have loved to, and I saw there was people in my age group who I would have loved to be in that mix. So, and it would have made the age group races, I think, that much more exciting to watch too.
And it doesn't make sense to not like let you roll down to age group. The weights are the same, like the standards are all the same, and that's like a big thing with Deka fit. Because I don't remember how it worked, Heather, with High Rocks, like because you qualified with pro weights and then raced age group, but then people who raced open could also qualify for age group, right?
Yes.
So you ran a faster time with heavier weights. Like there are people in the pro wave that maybe ran a little bit slower time than people in the open. Plus you had to do more wall balls. Like I don't really understand, like in High Rocks, it's not even the same race and you're qualifying like women can run open and qualify for age group. I don't know. It's like, so, but Deka, it makes sense because you're actually running the same race with the same weights.
Yeah.
And Yancey told, I don't know. I mean, it was not, I don't know. If you qualified for elite in the strong or the mile, but you wanted to compete in your age group instead, you could just let your elite go away and then you would get an age group.
Why would you want to do that?
I don't know. I
Which
don't
is
know.
really like age group podiums, maybe, but it doesn't. But then, what happens to them?
Handbag.
Because so like with the strong or the mile, like you got the elite email, but it was because of roll down and you wanted to compete in your age group. So maybe you were ranked 23rd and you didn't really want to go to the elite field, even though you got the email for it. You could just wait and you wouldn't have to compete in elite.
I could understand that.
Yeah. So you would
But I
technically
was never
get an
given the
elite.
opportunity to even race in my age group because I had raced elite.
It was different
That's only in
for
Deka
Deka
fit.
fit.
Yeah.
So Deka fit had the separate elite and age group. Deka mile and strong were just all grouped together. There was no elite in age group.
I totally agree with Beth that if you run elite and you don't qualify for the championship, you should be able to roll down into age group.
So does Spartan work that way? Like, I don't know, like if you run an elite race and then you wanted to run Abu Dhabi or something, I don't know. Can you run age group if you didn't qualify?
Yeah.
Okay. So weird that like Deka doesn't have like the same type of rules.
I don't know.
Yeah. That's a good change. I like that.
I agree.
A lot less costly than my change.
And for me, I'm going to say that, like Tara, there's a lot of things that I would change about the rule book for specific movement standards. But since I'm just doing one, I'm just going to start with reverse lunges and simplify it to the point of, and I've said this before, piece of tape on the ground, both feet have to be in front of it before the other foot can go back into the lunge. And if you jump a little bit, who the hell cares? As long as both feet are in front of that.
Going on this weekend. So
What's that?
there was lots of jumping going on this weekend.
Were you watching Heather?
Was she Were you jumping?
No, she was not.
I was pushing the limit.
Do you have a pep in your step? So was everybody else. I mean,
Yeah.
that's like,
It's hard not to when you're trying to go so fast. I mean,
like you can't tell me that people are doing 30 lunges in 33 seconds and not jumping.
Yeah. And
Impossible.
yes.
I would like to say that I was the first out of the lunges on the Deka mile. So I was in first place out of the first station.
There you go.
Last place from there on.
So as much as Heather likes to tease herself, she was seated 12th and came 5th.
In the strong and 7th in the mile.
That's pretty damn good. That's a hell of a step up. Like, I don't know, but to seated 12th and come 7th is really good.
Only 9 were at the start line, but
that's okay.
yeah, I wasn't last.
You don't tell people this. Like if you win a race, you're the only person there. You don't tell them that there's only one person.
Right. First in my age group. There's only one, but
They'll win. Win's a win.
All right, guys. Well, that's great. We've gone on a long time, probably longer than we expected. Thank you to all you world champions. And I was
Good thing Dylan left.
Yeah, really. That would have been awkward.
Oh yeah, open world champion. Sorry.
Yeah, and so 2 things actually that I need to put out there. One, Tara officially did win the poll. Her quads are beefier than Dylan's. There's no doubt about it. And as far as our Deka draft we did with Yancey, Yancey came in 3rd.
Oh.
With 102 points. Bethany in 2nd with 111, I believe it was. Yes, 11 T1. And I smashed everybody with 126.
Yeah.
Thankfully, in part to my first choice of Tara Jackson. So I win.
Congratulations.
Take Meg Jacoby in like the last round.
Yeah, I know. What a score.
What a score.
Just so you know, I had Tara.
His draft, and I was like, how nobody pick up Meg Jacoby?
I had Tara, I had Rich Ryan, I had Alundra Greenlee, I had Meg Jacoby, I had Vivian Tafuto. Yeah, and Nick Riker. And Nick, you did great, buddy.
Oh. Man, he won the mile in his age group.
He should have been in the mile in elite.
He should have been in the mile in elite for sure. He would have been. I think he would have been like 4th. He would. I don't remember if he would have been in front of Dylan. He would have been. I think he would have beat Dylan actually.
Yeah. His time would have beat Dylan's.
18. So he would have been.
Did
4th.
he just not run one before, or did he not get qualifying time?
That's the problem with the mile courses. He probably just had a really bad course, and I ran one course that was like in gravel, like with 90-degree turns out and back. Like if you're gonna do an out and back, just do one out and back.
Yeah,
it's just crazy.
So actually, I'm going to change my thing. I don't want to. I want to fix the lunges, but I'm going to change it. I want to do Heather's regional qualifying system for all of them. I think that'd be good. And I am also stunned that Ryan Kent managed to set a mile record on that course.
I'm more surprised he set a strong record.
So was it the strong record he set? Or was it the mile record?
He set the strong record.
The strong record.
Rylan and Kent both would have set a mile record. The mile wasn't that bad. Meg Jacoby set the record too by like 30 seconds.
I think the top 3 women beat the record.
Yeah. The record was a little soft.
Yeah. Well, it ain't anymore.
It ain't soft anymore. But
Yeah. So anyway, all that said, Beth, why don't you take us out?
Yeah, thanks so much, ladies, for joining us. It was a great conversation. Great talk about the weekend. We had such an awesome weekend, so many positives to take away from. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening. And until next time, keep crushing it.
Oh, and one more thing. Thanks to Duonamic and designateddrinks.ca. We're a little late on that one. Oops. Athletic Brew was tonight's beer. And just because I am oh so humble, I have to admit, Bethany did beat me head to head on the mile. It happened. There you go.
by how much?
35 seconds.
Give or take.
It was a solid 35 plus.
She was like 11 burpees deep.
Whatever.
She was having her athletic brew by the time you finished.
All right. Take care, everybody.